Last week, me and my wife we took a road trip in Hokkaido, Japan, for about 9 days, and we took a road trip around the island, and we see some of the many beautiful places. And today, I want to share with you what I think Japan is probably one of the best countries where you can do the road trip if you enjoy road trip, and why it is the best destination what I think is the best destination for travelers and for sightseeing, particularly if you wanted to do road trip. I personally have been to many countries. I visited and traveled in many countries, in North America, Europe, and many of the countries in the South East Asia. And I think why Japan stands out as a perfect destination to travel is there's a few reasons, right? And the first reason is being the sense of safety. We drove a lot in Hokkaido, and particularly in Japan, you don't need to worry too much about your personal safety because the crime rate, and it is very seldom to find thief or robbery on the streets, and the Japanese are mostly very polite and very friendly to foreign visitors. Me and my wife, like a few years back, we went to Spain, and on the very first day we arrived in Barcelona, and on the very first day my wife's purse got stolen. All right, on the very first day, and there was some kind of entertainer or clown in the streets trying to distract us, and somebody came up from behind and stole her purse, and the purse we put a lot of cash in there, and it is a good purse that my wife had. So proof it's just gone, and that's only the very first day. And then we went to the police station, and basically they did nothing other than just register and writing down what happened, right? And because they're actually not gonna do something, because for them this is too common. This is like a misdemeanor, and this is too common happening in Barcelona, right? It is one of the highest thief and robbery rates cities in the world. I think Italy and Barcelona and maybe Madrid. I'm not sure, but actually we got stolen on the very first day. And on the other day we're visiting, I think, in Madrid. There was like a night market, and there were a lot of people, and there's some lady, some guy trying to rob a lady's like a small bag in front of her body. She's holding on like this, and the other guy is trying to steal it. And some guy came over and wrestled that robber on the ground, and until the police comes. So even just a few days of visit, we witnessed so much a crime, even just in Barcelona. But don't get me wrong, I love Barcelona. It is a beautiful, beautiful country. It is wonderful. It's a beautiful city, and Spain as a country is wonderful. It's fantastic. It's so much to see. But generally, you want to be very careful with your belonging. And the other time is we went to the United States for work, and we have a half day off, so we're trying to go sightseeing, right? And we found in the states, in the west coast, and we try to park our car, and we just want to go see some scenic spots. But there is a like people have been warning us, and there's a sign saying there this is area where the people would break into your car and get your valuable belongings. And we were kind of hesitant. Should we just park the car here? Even it is the popular with many people. It's just a parking lot, and it's next to the scenic spot. But the sign still says, even with people around, this could still happen. That they would just get your things in your car. Even in the states, even in the relatively low crime area, and we were really worried about. We didn't relax, and as we go into sightseeing, we were really tense. We were worrying if we could got if our stuff could got stolen, right? So that is what I found in other countries. I mean, generally for traveling, you need to have this sense of safety within yourself, so you can really enjoy what you see. You can really enjoy talking to people, and you don't need to cling to your belongings all the time, just in case that somebody is gonna steal your things or somebody's gonna hurt you or something. Um, so coming back to Japan, I think Japan is relatively very safe from my experience and from the statistics as well, and that's why Japan is so famous for tourism, particularly from countries around Japan, like Korea, China, especially Taiwan, and we see a lot of Taiwanese in Japan. It's like our backyard, right? It's like back garden. Just kidding, but when there sometimes I feel like in Taiwan because there are so many Taiwan people visiting Hokkaido. So first is the feeling of safety, and the second thing is the cleanliness, right? I would say you go to any restaurant, you go to any agency, you go to any public office, or like hotels, right? The bathrooms are extremely clean. I would say 99% of the visit we the place we visited, the restaurants are so clean. It's impeccable. It's very incredible to me because these facilities are being used by so many people, and they managed to keep that so clean, and particularly most because labor in Japan is very expensive. So many of the places they're limited the staff they have, but even that they can keep these toilets so clean. And I think that's because the deep down in the Japanese culture, they are very respectful for the guests and visitors. So they think if the toilet is dirty or the toilet is not clean or it smells, this is kind of a disrespect to their visitors, to their guests. So what I really enjoy is that when you go to the restrooms or toilets in Japan, you can really relax because you're gonna find stinky stuff. You're not gonna find like dirty toilet that you cannot use. And they also have this kind of automatic ass washer, like flusher. In most of the locations you visit, you will find this kind of very friendly facilities, and so they make you going to the restroom a pleasure. I would say a pleasure, and really a relief for visitors. So I think that is the second reason. And the third reason is that traffic, right? We arrived in the airport, then we drove to Furano and Asahigawa, and then Hakodate and the Lake Toya, and so on. We drove all the way around maybe 2,000 kilometers, and the scenics are wonderful. It's very, very beautiful. But first, let's talk about the traffic. Generally, Japanese people, they really follow the traffic laws. And on my 8 days of driving, I wasn't even horned. Nobody pressed a horn behind me once for the entire trip, right? Unlike if you go to like Vietnam or if you go to the United States, in Europe as well, some people will just flash you or just being very impolite. In Japan, they are trained to be following the rule, and they don't drive really fast. They drive according to the regulations, and for example, they don't pass you when you're driving on the highway. And if they needed to pass you, they will use this kind of passing area. There's a passing area where you're allowed to pass other vehicles, and so the cars, if they think you're driving too slow, they will pass you. Then, and they don't rush, and they keep the speed very steady. That's one thing, because in Taiwan, I'm driving on a highway every day, right? And the expressway, and the car would suddenly, some of the cars would always changing lanes, or they would go suddenly very fast and then slam the brake. for some reason. So that's why you gotta be very careful, watching out what's going on in front of you, and this all sometimes very very dynamic. But in Japan, it's different. As long as at least it's my experience. I've been to Tokyo as well. I road trip in Tokyo as well, and I road trip in Hokkaido. And most of the time, driving was a pleasure because they really follow the rules and they are very polite to each other. They don't do something very dramatic when they're driving, right? And not to mention the scenic views are very spectacular, especially in Verano. You see all these plants, see the flowers, you see all this beautiful terrains, and especially when the weather was great, and Lake Toya, you see this beautiful mountain and lake view, and it's really enjoyable. You don't need to be staying on the edge all the time, wondering what other drivers could do to you, right? I remember in the United States when I was driving, since I wasn't really familiar with the area, so I was kind of hesitant to take a right turn to the exit or to take the other one, and I was just hesitated for like 1 second, and there's one female driver behind me just gave me the finger, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I hope it wasn't because my race, and I wasn't speeding, I wasn't stopping. I just slowed down a bit to look around and to understand which direction I should go, and that alone that caused her to give me this finger, right? And I truly didn't know why, but I somehow need to be more on the edge driving in North America or in Southwest Asia and in Taiwan as well. But in Japan, of course, you need to pay attention. But what I'm saying is that generally, you wouldn't worry too much about other drivers being too aggressive to you. And of course, you will follow the flow. You will drive like a local, so you would not causing any trouble to other people. Um, Generally, I think driving in Japan is such a pleasure. So we have started planning our next road trip in Japan, maybe a longer period and maybe longer area we want to see around Japan. And we start planning that, me and my wife, and we're gonna do that in next year. So we're really looking forward to it. And we just came back 2 days ago, and we started planning the next one because driving in Japan, road trip in Japan, and generally visiting, sightseeing in Japan is such a pleasant experience. And other nominal mention factors, or for example, the exchange rate is pretty low. Japanese yen are relatively comparatively competitive and cheaper for if you have the United States or if you have the Taiwanese dollars. The exchange rate is so good that things are really cheap, including the service, the accommodation, or you can go, enjoy shopping, buying things in Japan. And not to mention the food, right? Japanese food is famous worldwide, and the foods or the variety, the depths of the flavors, and general quality of the food you can find in the restaurants or in the convenience stores, they are always most of the time, very impressive and very nice and great experience dining in Japanese restaurants, given their respect to their guests and their respect to people in general. So I think these are the reasons that I think you must consider Japan as your next travel destination. I share from my personal experience. I visited Japan probably 5 times or more through my lifetime, and I plan to go there more often. Maybe it's because I just live in Taiwan, and geographically it's closer. But no matter where you're from, if you can afford it, if you have the time, and if you're considering what's your next place to visit in Asia, definitely consider Japan as one of your best choice.